Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name's Alex and you are watching BC Adventure. So I put out a post earlier this week asking what you guys would like to see next, and 100% of the votes went to let's do a de-Google video. So as some of you may have seen, PewDiePie recently announced that he's de-Googling his life. Now, I can't technically de-Google my life because I don't use Google services other than YouTube. However, I do use iCloud, so I can de-iCloud my life, if you will. So the way we're going to be doing that is we are going to be installing one, Vaultwarden for our password management, Obsidian, which is the second one for note taking, and then the third one is going to be Nextcloud for our file storage. Now, this one I'm a little, on the fence about for Nextcloud. I haven't had the best luck with it, but I believe that's because of the way I'm setting it up. Doesn't mean you will not have good luck with it. I also have, I think it's about 30 or 40,000 pictures on my phone. That's never going to upload to Nextcloud. It's just too big. It's over 100 gigs worth of photos and videos. If you're in that situation, you're going to have to manually download your photos from iCloud and add them to Nextcloud. But we won't get into that. What we're going to do is we're going to set up Bitwarden. I'm going to show you how to send it through a reverse proxy so that you can use it outside of the home as well. We're going to set up Obsidian so that we can get our notes saved and synced. And then we're going to be using Nextcloud for our file storage, like I said. Now, you don't have to just use Nextcloud for file storage. You can also use it for your notes. You can also use it for your calendar. You can use it as your email client. They have a built-in maps function. They've got surveys. They've got pretty much anything you can think of that you would need from a cloud service, Nextcloud does have built in. So let's jump right into it. Let's get started. I'm going to walk you through the steps for each one. And, it's probably going to be a little bit longer of a video. I want to give you an update on the UPS video. So I'm working on that right now. We're going to be doing a road trip over to the mainland, and I'm going to bring you guys along. Not just for the road trip, but for my birthday as well. I'm turning 39. And, next year, the 40th is the midlife crisis, they say, but I think I started that trend around 38. So I'm going to bring you guys with me. We're going to possibly meet up with Salvage Geek and get the UPS's new batteries and working and up and running. And going to be heading out to my buddy's farm. We're going to be doing a barbecue for my birthday. So I wanted to bring you guys along and give you a glimpse into my life. I hope that's okay. If it's not a video for you, then just ignore it. And that's totally fine as well. All right, so let's get started with getting Vaultwarden set up. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get logged into our server. So we're going to head on over to the app section and we are going to search for Vaultwarden. And then from there, we're just going to click install and we're going to choose the latest template. Now we need to scroll down and I'm going to show Docker allocations and we're just going to use find and look for 4743. And there's only one match. So we are good to leave this port as it is. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure signups are on, so true. Invitations are true. And then we need to change WebSocket to true. Now we need to set a token. So to do that, we're just going to go over to the Bitwarden website and we're going to use the password generator. And I'm just going to up this to 20 characters, and that's copied. Now we need to remember this. So make sure that you do have it written down or, paste it in your notes or something. We're going to add this in here. And then from there, we're just going to click apply. Now it's going to go ahead and download the required Docker container and get all this installed. And then once this is done, we need that password that we just saved. Perfect, that's done. Now we're going to go to actions and web UI. Now here we need to enter that web token. Now I'm actually just going to save this in my notes here. That way, if have to restart or something, I do have it. So Just got that saved in my notes. And don't worry, I'm not using this instance for my password manager. So here, we don't really need to do anything with this just quite yet. What we need to do is we need to get logged in to the actual admin panel, or sorry, we need to create a user. As you can see, it's not actually opening. And the reason why is that we need to connect to this using a secure connection. So to do that, we actually need to get our reverse proxy set up. So I'm going to head over to my Docker. And I'm going to open up NGINX Proxy Manager. So we're going to head on over to the Proxy Manager and get logged in. And we need to add a new proxy host. So I'm just going to add, well, actually, I haven't set up a subdomain yet. So I'm just going to quickly go and do that. All right, I got the subdomain set up. So we need to add a proxy host. The domain is going to be vault.familyo.ca. The forward IP is our Unraid address with the port of 4743. We need to cache assets, and we're going to block common exploits. And then we need to go over here to SSL. We're going to request a new SSL, and we want to force SSL, and we want HTTP to support, and we want to agree and click save. So what this is doing right now is it's generating a new SSL certificate and applying it to the subdomain. Okay, so that's done. Now, if we click on it, here we go. We are logged, or we are at the login screen. So if we go right to the IP address, we get brought to the admin console. But if we remove the admin sub with just the IP address, we can't do anything with it. So it has to be connected via secure connection. So here we need to create an account. So I'm going to put in my email address and put my name, continue, and we need to set a new master password. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And our master password hint, this is a hint. Okay, I'm just gonna, there we go. Now we are at our Vault screen. So here we can start adding new items. So we can add login credentials. We can add in the website so that it auto-populates. Now, if you're using Vaultwarden as your main password manager, there are web plugins that you can add to your browser so that it does pop up and ask you to auto-populate using Vaultwarden. Now, you can also use this on your phone. So let's get my phone brought up here. Okay, so if you search for the Vaultwarden app, you're going to find Bitwarden comes up, and that's the one we actually need. So we're going to go ahead and get this installed, and here we're going to get it set up. So we need to log in, and we're not using the Bitwarden website. We need to change this to self-hosted. And here we need to put in our server URL. And here we're going to put in our email address and then our master password. Bitwarden keeps your vault automatically synced for using push notifications, by using push notifications. For the best possible experience, please select allow on the following prompt when asked to allow push notifications. So we're going to go ahead and allow, and then that way this can update any passwords saved to our Vaultwarden instance on our Unraid server so that we don't have to go fumbling around between devices for passwords. So from here, we can even add a new login, just as if we would prior, or we could actually add a secure note, identity, a credit card, or we can do the login, or we can add a folder to store specific things in. So that's Vaultwarden. It is pretty simple to get set up, nice and easy, pretty painless. The only caveat is you need a domain name that you can set up subdomains to use. Now, there's a really good deal going on with Web Hosting Canada. I'm going to leave a link down below on how you can get that offer. You can get yourself a domain for only $5 right now. It is a .ca domain, and in order to have a .ca domain, you do need to be a Canadian resident or have a Canadian registered business. However you go about doing that, I'll leave that to you, but I will have a referral code down below so you get a free month of service, and it does help support the channel. They're not sponsored by any means. They don't do anything for the channel here. I've been using Web Hosting Canada since around 2008 or 2010. 15, 16, 17 years of solid service. I absolutely love them. Their customer support is great. Their support is great. Their billing team has been great with me, because I was sick for a while, and I was not working, and I needed to keep my websites up. And I just reached out to them, and they were absolutely amazing in helping me stay afloat over the few months that I was off. So if you want a good domain provider, check out Web Hosting Canada. You can also get .com domains for $9.99, or it might be a little bit more now. If you're in America, obviously the exchange rate is going to knock that price down a little bit. So if you're paying an American, the Canadian domain's around like $3.50 American. So it's a great deal. The next application we are going to get installed is Joplin. Now, at the beginning of the video, I'd made a mistake and I said we were going to install Obsidian, but I quickly realized that they charge to use their service $4 a month American, or $48 for the year, which is not what we're looking to do. We're trying to get away from the subscriptions and paying for stuff. So we are going to install Joplin, and I found such an easy way to get it done. So we're going to go ahead and do that by installing a WebDAV server. So we're just going to search for WebDAV, and then we're going to use this easily configurable WebDAV server with Apache. So we're going to click on that. We're going to install, and we're going to use the latest template. Now, I tried doing Docker Compose for Joplin server, and I spent at least an hour or two failing hard. So this is the alternative way, and it actually works really easy. So we're going to set a username, and we're going to set a password. And we're going to leave the data folder where it is, because it's going to live on our cache drive, which is going to give us really fast service or access to our data. And notes are quite small unless you're attaching big files. Even so, your cache drive should be a good size. So feel free to change where your data's living if you like, but I'm leaving mine right where it is. So after that, just going to click apply. And this is a fairly quick installation. It's going to pull from the repository, get the Docker compiled and all put together, and it's already done. If we click on Actions and we go to Web UI, it's going to ask for our username and password. And we can see that this is an empty folder. So now we need to get Joplin set up. So let's go down to our phone, and we're going to search for the Joplin app, and I will show you how to get this set up with your server. We're going to open it up, and here we have a test notepad, if you will. So to get this connected to our server, we're going to go over here to the hamburger menu, and we're going to click on configuration. Now, there's two ways. We can use Tailscale on our phone, which I already have installed, to connect back to the server, or we can port forward if we like. So if we were using Tailscale, all we would do is go down to synchronization here, and then the synchronization target we would change to WebDAV, and then here we would put in our Unraid address, and it's port 5000. And if we put in our username and our password and click check, it's going to ask us to be able to search for devices on the network. And then we're going to click again, and success. The synchronization configuration appears to be correct. Now, if we go back over to our index and we refresh, still nothing. But if we go back to our phone, let's start a new note. So here we can title it new. And then we'll allow while using the app. This is a new notebook. Go back. And we'll click synchronize for good measure. There we go. It's synced. Let's go back to our web dev and refresh. And now we see that it's starting to upload and populate to the web dev service. Now, we can use this with our reverse proxy. So I'm going to go ahead and create a subdomain for this, and then I'll show you how to connect it with a custom subdomain. All right, so using Web Hosting Canada, I logged into my cPanel, and I'm going down here to my zone editor. Here, I'm going to click Manage, and I'm going to add a record. And I'm going to call this subdomain notes.familyio.ca. And here I need to add my public IP address. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So I got that pasted in there, going to save the record. And now we need to go back to our NGINX proxy manager. So we're going to go back to Docker. Going to get that opened up. Select proxy host, and we're going to add a new proxy host. We're going to call this one notes.familyio.ca, just like we did on the Web Hosting Canada cPanel. And here we need to set the IP address to our Unraid server and then the port of the web dev. We're going to block common exploits and then head on over to SSL. And we're going to request a new SSL, and we're going to enable HTTP2 support, agree to the terms, and click Save. As it did last time, it's going to create and attach the new SSL to the subdomain. And from there, we should be able to click our notes. And yes, it's going to ask us to log in. Oh, I always do that, put the email address in. And here we are logged in. Now let's go back to our phone. And we're going to update this configuration. We're going to go back to synchronization, and we are going to change this to notes.familyio.ca. Check. No, it does not like it. Okay, let's try HTTPS. Success. All right, so it is encrypting our traffic. Now, why don't we give it a test now that it's all set up? Do a new note, do test 2. This is another test. Go back. Oh, forgot to sync. Synchronize. We'll refresh. There we go. We see another folder opened up. So that's installing Joplin. It's pretty simple. We don't actually need to host the Joplin server on Unraid. We can just use WebDAV. We can encrypt it if we like through the Joplin app. But personally, I feel using the SSL certificate with the subdomain, and I personally am comfortable with how this is. So yeah, and Joplin is such a great notes-taking app because it does work in Markdown. Now, there is also a Joplin application that we can install from the community application so that we can access it via our server. So if we just put in Joplin, which I'm sure some of you did when you first tried setting this up, we are going to leave all of this as is, click apply, and there's one step that we're going to need to do in order to get this up and running, because for some reason, the Docker Compose instructions don't tell the installation script to create a directory that Joplin does need. So once this finishes up, we're going to go ahead and do that so you don't run into the same errors I did when I tried getting this set up. So that's all set up now. Going to click done. Now I'll show you what happens if we try and open up the web UI. We're getting an error that permission is denied, and it's asking us to make a directory. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to go back over to our Unraid, and we're going to go to shares. We're going to go to app data, and we're going to go find Joplin, wherever that is, Joplin app, there it is. And we need to create the directory Joplin desktop. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So to do that, we're just going to click create, and we're going to put in Joplin desktop. Start, go back to Docker, and we are going to restart this container. So for some reason, that part of the Docker Compose file was left out, but we just went ahead and manually created it, and now it's going to restart. We'll go ahead and check the logs. Okay, so even though there's errors here, it is working. So if we close this out and we open up the web UI, here we go. We are in Joplin. So do we want to connect this? We do. So in order to do that, we're going to use the self-hosted option. We're going to set it to webdav. We're going to put in our URL. So notes.familyo.ca. We're going to put in our username and password. And we're going to check. Synchronization configuration appears to be correct. Okay, so we can go back. And here we go. Let's synchronize. Okay, so we have our desktop notes here. We've got our iPhone notes here, which is the new, and this is another test. So we are now syncing right across all our devices. So if I bring back my iPhone here, and go over to the notes, we should see after we synchronize, we have both notebooks, the welcome and our desktop version. And to show that this is syncing across, we'll go to desktop. We will create a new note. Welcome to Joplin. And here, see, because this is Markdown, keep in mind, we can use Markdown, but you don't have to know how to use Markdown. If you do know how to use it, you can make some beautiful notes here. So whatever you type in here is going to preview on the right side here. And that's pretty much it. Let's synchronize for good measure. We'll go back to our phone, synchronize here. And yeah, there we go. Welcome to Joplin, just like I put in on the desktop. So that's how to get Joplin set up. Next, we're going to move over to Nextcloud. However, we're going to use SQLite. I've already done a video on how to set up Nextcloud. It is a fairly longer one that most people actually find really helpful. It's got a couple thousand views, I think. I've done a couple of them, but it does have at least 1,000 views, I believe, and you know, quite a few comments about how it did help. So I'll leave a link in the description or a card somewhere over here that you can click on to get the full version of Nextcloud with a MySQL or MongoDB setup. So that's what we're going to jump into next. We're going to get Nextcloud set up so that we can have things like contacts and file storage, photo albums, calendars, all that fun stuff. So let's go jump over and do that. The last thing we need to get installed is Nextcloud. And keep in mind, we're going to be using the SQLite database. So nice and simple. However, if you plan on putting a large amount of files and media on your Nextcloud instance, I do recommend following my previous video on how to get Nextcloud fully installed using a database. So we're going to use the Linux server repository, and we're just going to click install and choose the latest template. And from here, we're going to change this to a custom network. Now, you may not need to do this. However, this particular port is conflicting with my Unraid installation as well as, sorry, what do you call it? My reverse proxy. So we're going to set a custom IP that I've already picked out. Now, you probably don't need to do this, but in my case, I do. And I'm going to add a folder for my Nextcloud instance. So here I'm just going to click apply, and it's going to go ahead and download the required files. Now, some of you may notice I am wearing a different shirt. It is 2 days later since I was last recording. I did have to work, and today I had the Canada Day parade for my daughter. So, well, I'm for Canada as well. It is our birthday. Anyways, as soon as this is finished, we'll jump right back into the installation. So that's all finished up now. We're going to go ahead and click done. We're going to head on over to our Docker tab, and we are going to check the logs. So we see here that Nextcloud is initializing, and this is a really good habit to get into, to be checking the logs before you're opening up your containers that you've just deployed. The reason why is because I have put myself through some just stupid frustration thinking that a container was not working, and it was simply because it needed to initialize. Now, as we see here, it can take a while. So we're going to leave this and let it do its thing. And as soon as it's done, we're going to jump back into the rest of the installation. And it won't take very long because we are using SQLite. So as soon as this is done, we'll jump right back in. Well, looks like we're good to go now. So we're going to go ahead and come over to the Docker and launch the web UI. And of course, we need to say we understand that it's not secure. And here we're going to begin the initial installation. So I'm going to pick a standard username and click install. Now it's going to finish up the installation, which will not take too long. Okay, so that only took about 1.5 minutes, and now we are at the login screen. So we'll go ahead and put our admin username and password in and click login. And that is it for getting our Nextcloud installation up and running. So if you notice when we got into the initial install, it said SQLite is not recommended for file syncing clients. So what that means is if you were going to have, say, the Nextcloud app on your phone, that's fine if it's just the one user. But if you're using multiple clients connecting to your Nextcloud instance, your performance is going to tank, you're going to be frustrated, and you're not going to like it. So it is recommended that you do use a proper database. Right off the bat, we've got files, photos, and activity. Now, what if we want other stuff? Well, we can come down here to apps. And the first thing that we're going to want to get installed is a calendar application, because that is something that, we want in our control. So we can simply scroll through. We can see that these are the most popular here, the best rated, but we can come down here, we can search. Oh, this is for actual searching. Okay, so we want a calendar. So organization. And here we've got Teams, account retention, appointments, and calendar. So this is a featured Nextcloud calendar app. So if we click download and enable, it's going to install the calendar application and automatically activate it for us. Give a refresh. And we now have the calendar application. So what can you do with this calendar application? Well, you can treat it just like you would a Google Calendar, an iCloud calendar, or a web-based calendar that shares. So you can actually share this calendar, but we would need to set up our SMTP or SMPT, whatever the email standard is, and we would need to set this up with our reverse proxy. So again, all that stuff is covered in my last Nextcloud video. Nextcloud is quite a cumbersome application to get fully set up securely. So I do highly recommend that you watch either my Nextcloud video that I did, or Space Invader 1 also has a great video if you want to check his content out. He is obviously one of the Unraid masters out there. Someone who I took inspiration from to get started with Unraid, and their videos have really helped me expand my knowledge with the Unraid operating system. So with Nextcloud, you can share files just like you would with iCloud or Google Drive. But again, you need to make sure that you have your subdomain and reverse proxy properly set up in order to use those features. And I don't recommend doing it with the SQLite database. Now, if you were just using all three of these together using Tailscale and not reverse proxying out, you don't need to worry about that stuff. But I still do highly recommend that you are setting up a proper database for your Nextcloud instance. Now, with all that said and done, I've given you the basics on how you can start to de-Google or de-iCloud your life. You can get your information back in your hands, giving you the power over who has access to it. Now, if you're self-hosting, it's highly recommended you are using a good firewall. You have some intrusion prevention set up. But for most people, I think using Tailscale is probably the most easy way to get set up and accessing your home network. Tailscale has worked amazing for me. It's actually done better than the Unify teleport VPN protocol. I don't know what it is about Unify, but they will not let me access my home network from outside of Canada. I've checked all the default stuff to make sure that America is one of the accepted countries for inbound information. And yeah, it's all good to go. But for some reason, American networks block my Unify Teleport VPN access. So I got Tailscale up and running, and I don't think I'll ever look back. It has been absolutely great after I gave it a second chance. So with all that said and done, I hope you learned something. I hope I've given you a bit of power to take your information into your hands, your passwords, your notes, and your data. It's all on you to get this set up and use it how you see fit. Some people, like myself, find it very difficult to get away from the iCloud ecosystem. It is something that I do trust and something that I've used for the better part of 10, 15 years. And I really don't see myself moving away from it. But with that said, I am keeping Joplin installed, and I am keeping Vaultwarden installed. So those are two things that I am implementing into my regular day-to-day life. With that, I hope you found this video useful. If you want to see more stuff like this, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you want to see anything different, or another tutorial for something that maybe you've been struggling with. I do take community suggestions and I do implement them into my videos. So please let me know down below what you want to see next. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.